But to answer your question, we feel 2 to 3 months is a good enough time for you to get a taster of what that place could look like for you if you were to move there long term. So the thing that we would do is obviously we would get a property, live in a location, like ideally an expat based location, because if we were to live there long term, that's where we would usually live. So it gives us a sort of feeling of what that neighborhood is like. We would put our daughter to a preschool, so that also gives us an understanding of what is schooling like. Um, we did get sick over time, so we also went to, we didn't have to go to hospital, thankfully, but we went to healthcare centers. So you get a bit of a taster of what the healthcare looks like. Obviously, we would cook, do groceries. We would also eat outside. We would go to a gym, and we would go to co-working space because that gives us a. So all in all, it gives you a pretty condensed sort of, call it like a crash course of what that place could look like. I'm not taking away the fact that, okay, if you live in a place for 3 months, you will know everything about that place, but it's good enough for us to, I suppose, make that call as to whether we would even want to live there long term.
Grasping the idea of what
Yeah,
it would be if you would stay there, no?
yeah.
I mean, you touch a couple of points that I want to ask you. I now try to organize in my mind in which order should I put it, but maybe on the more challenging approach of things, because at the end you're traveling between countries, and for us, for example, Europeans, jumping from a European country to another inside of the European Union, if you have a European Union passport,
Hmm.
or that it's relatively easy. But
Yeah.
what about the bureaucracy? What about the visas? What about all these processes that I suppose it's is enough time, 3 months, to be preparing, or part of this job that you did during these 6 7 months in Australia before leaving was also preparing all the visas and all the paperwork to be able to do that in the future.
Yeah. Look, we are lucky that we lived in Australia and then became Australian citizens. So, as an Australian citizen, like the passport has quite a lot of
Strong.
strength, like you would have
Yeah.
in European countries.
Mm.
So, most places you would get visa on arrival, like, say, for example, like those four
Okay.
countries. So, in Malaysia, we get 3 months on arrival, so we don't really need a visa for that. In Indonesia, and Vietnam, you've got to get e-visas. So you could do that online. You can tell them whether you want to stay for, 2 months, 3 months, whatever they
Hmm.
allow you to stay for. In Thailand, it was a little bit different because in Thailand, they would give you, I think, 30 days on arrival for an Australian citizen. I mean, that's at least what it was when we went there.
Yeah.
And I know that they change often, so don't quote me on it. When we did, it was 1 month, and then you could get another 30 days. You could get like you could pay and get an extension. But if Thailand had given us like 3 months on arrival, like Malaysia, we would have probably lived there for 3 months. So, yeah, you could do all of these things sort of online, thankfully, and it was pretty straightforward. I mean, you just give the basic information, you pay the fees, and off you go. It wasn't a lot of paperwork for us, thankfully.
Well, that's good at least, because normally one of the most painful parts and repetitive topic and challenge in this podcast is definitely the bureaucracy and the paperwork when arriving to a place.
Yeah,
So,
no, you
and,
you are correct. Like, say I'll give you I'll give you just an
mm,
instance. Like in our case, it was slightly different because we were sort of like that digital nomad lifestyle. But
yeah,
in the future, if we are to sort of settle somewhere, then there will be paperwork. Like, say,
yeah,
as an example, say if I decide to move to Malaysia, I will have to decide which visa am I gonna take because you've got the digital nomad visa, you've got MM2H, you've even got like parents visa for kids who go to international schools. So whichever pathway you take, or even business visas, whichever pathway you take, then you'll be paperwork for that, and that would require a bit of effort. But in our case, because we were sort of staying there short term, you could navigate through that easier. But obviously, the con is that you've got to move every 3 months or two
yeah,
months.
of course. Another topic that I wanted to ask you about it, what about the financial fears at the end? No, like I suppose you were coming from a pretty comfortable standard comfortable bubble, let's say, of a 9 to 5 office
Yeah,
job with good salaries, etc., and suddenly you jump on a leap of faith, let's say, like this. You said that you had some business plan, and then of course you kind of introduced, and I suppose that also helped with a tiny detour project, and that I suppose it kind of revenue income somehow, some minor extra money into it. But
yeah,
um, how did you deal with the pressure of I don't know, being the two things, from a life of 9 5 to office to win your life, to suddenly being your own business
yeah,
owner and probably not working regular hours
yeah,
but rather when you can, etc.
yeah.
How was it for you?
Yeah, so I'll break it up into two parts. One, the transition from a 9 to 5 to a business, and then the other one is the money. So let me talk about the transition first. It was hard. It was very hard because we had never tried this before. And of course, our experience or our careers were very different to what we're doing now, which is content creation and consultancy. My job was people management in customer experience, and
Mhm.
Zanesta, she was in investment banking. So from there to get up on camera, do YouTube, try to find leads, convert them into clients, and then work with clients on things like doing videos for them, and so it was completely new. So we knew what we were getting into, that this was a green field for us, and there will be quite a bit of time when we might not have any money coming in. But of course, like, when you have a 9 to 5 job, it's quite regimented. Like, you go in, your calendar is filled, you do your job, and then you come back. Whereas and then you've also got managers, you've got senior people, you've got people that you are managing as well. So it's quite structured, and the beast that you're dealing with. Whereas here, sometimes you would go up and down, because there's no one telling you what to do. Right, you got to
Mm.
figure it out all by yourself, and you've got to take accountability, got to take responsibility. So it was hard, and uh, you know, it takes a bit of time to get used to that, but you've got to keep reminding yourself that no one's coming to help you. You've got to do it yourself. So, yeah, it is a challenge, but it there is there is nothing that can teach you other than doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, some things
Yeah.
are learned. Okay, so now let me just talk about the money. So, as I said, because we knew that we probably won't have any money coming in, what we did is we saved for the year. Like, we came up with like a monthly figure that we felt would live a comfortable life, and then
Mm.
we multiplied by 12, right? So we said, okay, we would need 4,000 Australian dollars every month, and then we saved 60,000 Australian dollars. Once we saved 60,000, then we were like, okay, what if we like it and we want to stay for another 12 months? Like, I think we should have
Which
some,
it happened.
yeah, which happened, right? So then we basically saved for another 12 months. So that's what we did. We went with $120,000 Australian dollars, and available for us. But yeah, within 6 7 months, we started getting some money from YouTube, ad fees, ad revenue from YouTube, and then we
Mm.
started doing a lot of client work. Like, and everything sort of we stumbled across, like we didn't plan it. So our daughter was going to all these preschools, and they were quite expensive. So eventually, all these preschools became our clients. So we would basically get her to go to these schools for almost free, and then get some money from them to do a video for them,
Okay.
about the schools. And
Uh-huh.
then we were doing the same for like the accommodation, for the co-working spaces, for gyms, etc. Because if we're teaching people about, career breaks and travel, these are the main things that people want to know about. And then we started doing these one-on-ones because people were coming to us and saying, hey, we would like to do something, but we're worried about the money, or we're worried about, what will people think, and things like that. So that's when we started doing one-on-ones. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. And look, it's never easy because when you are doing a job, like every month or every fortnight or whatever your frequency of salary payment is, like you will get that money coming in.
Mm.
So you
Yeah.
don't really need to worry too much. You can spend like like because the money is going to come. Whereas in these 2 years, we've become quite frugal and we've become quite um, like aware of where we spend our money. Like we budgeted like and we tracked every single expense over the last couple of years. And that has and obviously becoming minimalists helped as well because your attraction towards materialistic things reduces a lot. So then you just know, okay, what's important to you. Like I know, my accommodation is important because I gotta live somewhere. My
Mm.
daughter's schooling is important. I have to put aside certain amount of money for my business because I've got editors and thumbnail editors, etc. I've got certain softwares I've got to pay for, and then, I've got to accommodate for food. So all of these things I've sort of figured out. Okay, this is the amount of money that I'll need. Um, Actually, we did end up spending more than 4,000 every month. We ended up around 4,500 on average.
Mm.
But yeah, so yeah, it's not easy. None of this is easy, but the alternative is that for us, that was even harder. Even though we weren't making any money for a long period of time, like we were much more calmer and like, happy. Whereas in Australia,
Mm.
even though we were making a lot of money, we were stressed out all the time with the bills and all of the sort of stuff. So yeah, it really depends on what you want out of life. And for us, this life meant a lot more that even though the transition from a 9 to 5 to a business owner, and even though the transition from getting a salary to having really inconsistent income and living off our savings was hard, we knew we were working towards something.